Earlier, we have studied Bohr's atomic model. We have seen that Bohr's atomic model could successfully explain the spectra of hydrogen atom, but it could not explain the spectra of other elements where the number of electrons are more than one. So this is one of the serious limitation of Bohr's atomic model. Then one more limitation is that Bohr's atomic model could not explain the fine structure of spectral lines. So we have seen that the H alpha line in hydrogen spectra, it is actually a group of two lines which are very closely spaced, and the spectral difference is hardly 1.4 angstrom unit. So the reason behind this, why we have such a fine structure of spectral lines, could not be explained by the Bohr's atomic model. Another limitation is that the Zeeman effect also could not be explained by the Bohr's atomic model. So therefore Sommerfeld has come forward, and by changing some assumptions in Bohr's theory, he has tried to explain the fine structure of the spectral. It was known as a Bohr-Sommerfeld theory for hydrogen atom. Now, according to Sommerfeld, the main limitations of Bohr's theory that could arise because of certain assumptions made by Bohr in his atomic theory. So, what are these assumptions made by Bohr in his atomic theory? The two important assumptions that Bohr has made in his theory are, first of all, according to Bohr, the nucleus is stationary and electron revolves around it in a circular orbit. So suppose this is the nucleus. So electrons are revolving around the nucleus in a circular orbit. So nucleus is stationary. This is the main assumption. And second important assumption Bohr has made, that the mass of electron is negligible in comparison with the nucleus. You know that in nucleus protons are residing, and according to Bohr, most of the mass of an atom is due to the mass of protons, and the contribution in the total mass of an atom because of electrons is quite negligible. So he has assumed that electron has negligible mass. So in his theory, he didn't consider the mass of an electron. So Sommerfeld has tried to focus on these two assumptions, and he tried to correct these two assumptions in his theory. So what Sommerfeld has assumed, that both electron and nucleus, they move about their common center of mass. So in Bohr's atomic theory, we have seen that Bohr has assumed that nucleus is fixed, has its own position, it is not moving at all. Whereas Sommerfeld assumed that both electron and nucleus move about their common center of mass. So what will happen? You can consider this as a two-body problem. Electron and the nucleus, they are moving about their common center of mass. So in classical physics, this is a two-body problem, and that can be converted into a one-body problem. So the concept of reduced mass will be introduced in this particular case. And according to Sommerfeld, the electron revolves in an elliptical orbit with nucleus at one of the focus. So he assumed that the orbit of an electron is elliptical. So the nucleus is at one of the focus of this particular elliptical orbit. Now at any instant in this particular elliptical orbit, when the electron is orbiting, at any instant the position of an electron can be specified by the polar coordinates r and theta. You know the polar coordinate system for two dimensions, if you assume, then you can represent the position of particle in polar coordinate system by the two coordinates r and theta. So r is usually maybe related to distance and theta is related to direction. So these two coordinates or polar coordinates can be used to represent the position of the electron in an elliptical orbit. So this is how one can represent the Sommerfeld's elliptical orbit. You can see here this is an elliptical orbit. So this is, you can see, this is the nucleus where the total positive charge Ze is residing, and you can see this electron is orbiting here. Okay, electron is orbiting. If you assume this to be a position of the electron, you can see this E represented here. So this is the R coordinate representing the position of the electron with respect to nucleus, and theta the angle or direction. Theta represents the direction of electron with respect to this nucleus, and this theta varies. If you start from 0, total angle that can be 360 here. Now if you split the components here, now as the electron move in this elliptical orbit, both r and theta, they varies periodically. Both r and theta vectors, they are varying periodically. So they have magnitude as well as direction. So you can treat them as a vectors. So if you consider this in this point here, the tangent drawn at that point represent the velocity of the electron. This is r dot. What is r dot? Dr by dt, you can say. So dr by dt represent the rate of change of radius with respect to time. Radius is changing, it is not constant, because this is the elliptical orbit. If you assume the circular orbit as the case in Bohr atomic theory, the radius is constant all the time, okay, when the electron is orbiting. But here Sommerfeld assume elliptical orbit, so the radius is not constant, it is changing with respect to time. Therefore r dot you can represent here, okay, the vector which represents the rate of change of distance, or the distance, that means r, with respect to time. And theta dot, you can say the rate of change of direction with respect to time, theta dot. Okay, so r theta dot and this r dot, so the resultant vector, that will be the velocity here. So this is how the Sommerfeld has assumed the elliptical orbit of an electron. Now because of this, we have two coordinates r and theta to specify the position of an electron. Therefore now if you consider the momentum of the electron, because of these two coordinates, now in Bohr theory we have seen that the angular momentum is quantized. The main postulate specifies that the angular momentum is quantized. So L, that means that is equal to mvr, that is nh upon 2 pi. That postulate we have seen here in Bohr's atomic model. So similarly here the momenta of the electron, because now we have two coordinates r and theta, so they are quantized in both these, for both these coordinates r and theta. So momentum associated with the radial coordinate, that means r, and theta, azimuthal coordinate theta, they need to be quantized here. So this is the main principle that Sommerfeld has put here in his theory. Now the when Sommerfeld analyze this particular quantization and try to derive this momenta along this different coordinates r and theta, so the two important condition he has stated, that pr dr, the integral over pr dr, that is equal to r into h, where r according to Sommerfeld, it is a radial quantum number. R is a radial quantum number. And another condition that the integral p theta d theta, that is equal to kh, where k is a azimuthal quantum number. So since the momenta is quantized because of these two coordinates r and theta, so this is the condition for quantization of the momenta. Integral over pr dr, that is equal to rh, and integral over p theta d theta, that is equal to kh. R and k, now these are two quantum numbers. These are two quantum numbers. So r is the radial quantum number and k is the azimuthal quantum number. So the analysis Sommerfeld has given, which we are not going to see here because that is beyond the scope of our syllabus. But according to the analysis of Sommerfeld theory, what he proposed that this principal quantum number n, which was introduced in Bohr's atomic theory, that is the angular momenta is quantized. So L is equal to n h upon 2 pi, that n is the principal quantum number and it take all the integral values 1, 2, 3 and so on. So this particular n, according to the analysis given by Sommerfeld, that n must be the summation of these two quantum numbers r and k. That means according to Sommerfeld theory, n is equal to r plus h. So n is equal to r plus h. Okay, so that is what Sommerfeld has given in his analysis, r and k, radial and azimuthal quantum number, and this n is equal to r plus k here. Now r, it takes the values 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. That is the radial quantum number, it takes this value. Then k takes, according to Sommerfeld theory, all these values are specified here. K takes all the values 1, 2, 3 and so on, and n, the principal quantum number, as we have seen in Bohr's theory, it takes all the values 1, 2, 3 and so on. Okay, so n is equal to r plus k. Now we can think of the different values of n, and we can have different set of quantum numbers r and k. For example, here if you assume n is equal to 1, n is equal to 1, so here n is equal to 1. So what possible combination here? R is equal to 0 and k is equal to 1. That is the only possible combination. So R is equal to 0 and k is equal to 1. So according to Sommerfeld theory, when n is equal to 1, we have only one possible set of these two quantum numbers r and k. So that is r is equal to 0 and k is equal to 1. So r plus k, that should be equal to n according to this equation. Therefore 0 plus 1, that is equal to 1. So this condition is fulfilled here. Now when r is equal to 0 according to Sommerfeld theory, this is a circular orbit. It is not elliptical orbit. This is a circular orbit. For n is equal to 1, then there is only one orbit, and that is the circular orbit. Okay, so this particular condition for n is equal to 1. Okay, now the second condition here for n is equal to 2. Now here you can think of two sets of quantum numbers. For example, r is equal to 0, k is equal to 1. So that it will fulfill this equation, n is equal to r plus k, that is 0 plus 2, that is equal to 2. And here r is equal to 1, k is equal to 1, again 1 plus 1, that will be equal to 2. So there are two sets of quantum numbers, that is radial quantum number and r, and azimuthal quantum number k. So again r is equal to 0, you know that it will be a circular orbit, and now r is equal to 1, k is equal to 1, this is the elliptical orbit. This is the elliptical orbit. So for n is equal to 2, we have one circular orbit and one elliptical orbit. Now if you go further, for n is equal to 3, and if you see what set of quantum numbers we have, so for n is equal to 3, you can just see here the first set of quantum number r and k is r is equal to 0, k is equal to 3. So n will be 3. Then r is equal to 1, k is equal to 2, and r is equal to 2, k is equal to 1. So as usual, for r is equal to 0, we have circular orbit and these two elliptical orbit, one for r is equal to 1 and other for r is equal to 2. So in general, you can say that for a given value of n, there are n number of orbits. What does it mean? For n is equal to 1, only one orbit. For n is equal to 2, two orbits, one circular, one elliptical. For n is equal to 3, there are 3 orbits, one circular and 2 elliptical. If you have n is equal to 4, there are 4 orbits, and out of these 4, 1 will be circular, 3 will be elliptical, and so on. So we just say that there are n minus 1 number of elliptical orbit, and at least here one orbit will be circular orbit. Okay, so total there are n number of orbits. So according to Sommerfeld theory, there is a possibility that for n, the given quantum number, there are that much number of orbits here, n number of orbits. So the set of quantum numbers are different for the different orbits, for different value of n here. Now what is the effect of this? Because of this different set of quantum numbers, what happens here in the atomic spectra, that we are going to consider here. And that is how the attempt of Sommerfeld to explain the fine structure of spectral line, how he has used this concept to explain the fine structure of the spectral line. Okay, so now according to Bohr theory, you know that the energy, it is actually dependent on n value. So En, we have seen that is minus 13.6 divided by n square. Okay, so that was the equation for energy. So if you have certain value of n, there will be the particular value of energy. Okay, that is defined by n value. Now what is the problem here? You can see here n is equal to 1, only one orbit, there is no problem here, whatever the value of n, accordingly energy of the electron in the orbit here. But now problem is here, we have two different orbit, but the n value is same. Here is also n is equal to 2, n is equal to 2. So according to Bohr theory, the energy of the electron in this orbit and in this orbit, that will be same. Same is the case for n is equal to 3. In all these three orbit, the energy of the electron will be same, but set of quantum numbers are different. So in this particular case, in quantum mechanics, this is called as degeneracy. So what do you mean by degeneracy, or what do you mean by degenerate state? For the different set of quantum numbers, if you have the same energy associated with, then these particular states or levels defined by different quantum numbers but having the same energy, they are called as degenerate states or degenerate level. Now this degeneracy, how one can remove this degeneracy? So according to Sommerfeld, one can apply here the special theory of relativity. So how he has tried to explain how he has tried to remove this degeneracy? According to, if you have different orbits, then electron should possess different energy. That is what we expect in physics. So in order to remove this degeneracy, Sommerfeld tried to apply the special theory of relativity. How he did try to apply the special theory of relativity? So for that, now once again you just assume the elliptical orbit, and in any, for example, this is the elliptical orbit. Now in any one of these elliptical orbit, when the electron is orbiting, its distance, suppose here is the nucleus, so its distance from the nucleus is changing. So when the electron is here, the distance is different. When the electron is here, distance is different. When the electron is here, the distance between the electron and nucleus is very small. So according to special theory of relativity, this particular velocity of the electron, that will increase as it approaches to the nucleus. So when it is more closer to the nucleus, velocity is higher, and when it is far away from the nucleus, that means somewhere here, and the distance from the nucleus is very high, so in that case velocity will be lower. And in this particular case, when the velocity is different according to special theory of relativity, the mass of the electron is changing, mass is also not constant. So that is what the basic principle of special theory of relativity was applied by Sommerfeld. And because of this, what is happening now? According to Sommerfeld, this particular elliptical orbit, now this elliptical orbit, it is not the particular fixed orbit, rather it is precessing orbit. You can see here precession of orbit. So you can say this orbit is precessing in the space. So just like when you are playing with a top, so if you throw the top on the ground, and initially it is rotating exactly with the axis vertical with respect to ground, but later on, as the energy initial speed decreases, so later on you will find that it will start precessing about its own axis, and finally it will fall onto the ground. So here the orbit is precessing in the space in different direction. Okay, so as we see here, for a particular quantum number, principal quantum number n, for example n is equal to 3, there are two elliptical orbits. Okay, now these two elliptical orbit, they are precessing with different rate of precision. So rate of precision is different for different orbits for the same n value, and according to the special theory of relativity, so the mass changes, so the momentum must change, and therefore according to Sommerfeld, when we have such orbits, different elliptical orbits for the same n value, they are precessing with different velocity, and that means the rate of precision is different. Therefore the electron must possess slightly different energy when there is a transition from these orbits. So for n is equal to 3, there are two elliptical orbits, one circular orbit. So whenever there is a transition from the higher value of n to n is equal to 3, there is a possibility that the transition may be to one of these orbits. So to which orbit there is a transition, accordingly the energy will be different. Therefore there will be not a single spectral line associated with that transition. Rather, there are slightly small differences in energy. Certain number of transitions are involved. Therefore, instead of getting a single spectral line, we are getting a fine structure of line. That means lines which are closely spaced, having very small difference in energy. So that is how the attempt that was made by Sommerfeld to explain this fine structure, and he was quite successful to give the explanation of the fine structure of the spectral line, especially for hydrogen like atom. But just like Bohr theory also, there are certain limitations of Sommerfeld theory. It could not answer to certain questions. So what are these limitations? This model does not explain the behavior of the system having more than one electron. The same limitation as we have in case of the hydrogen atom based on Bohr's theory. So it could not explain the spectra or the details of the spectra of atoms having more than one electron. Again, it could not explain the Zeeman effect and Stark effect also. So Bohr atomic theory could not also explain Zeeman effect and Stark effect. Zeeman effect, you know that the effect of strong magnetic field on the spectral line. That means the spectral lines are splitted into number of lines in presence of strong magnetic field. Similar effect for electric field, that is known as Stark effect. Both of these effects could not be explained by the Sommerfeld's theory. So therefore there was a need to uh, search for another theory, and scientists were continuously trying to explore new ideas in order to understand the completely the nature of the atomic spectra. So later on scientists tried, different scientists, they come up with different concepts, and one unique model that was proposed, and that was vector atom model. So in the next lecture we shall try to study this vector atom model, which is mostly based on the quantum concept.